Hi guys, this is Rosanna from Moara Crochet, and today's crochet pattern is part of my Crochet Conscious concept. If you're not sure what this is, go down below, there's a link to my website with a full article explanation. In a nutshell, it's about creating crochet items which are safer to our planet, reduce our waste, and crochet items which have a functionality and need which lasts more than one season. Just before we start, if you're enjoying my content, please give me a like or subscribe. All these little things help my ranking and also encourage me to make more free crochet videos. Also go over to my website and check out the crochet patterns I make and the crochet articles, and you can also follow me on social media including Instagram, Facebook and Pinterest. But back to today's crochet pattern. I'm going to show you how to make this crochet statement necklace, which can also double up as a crochet nursing necklace for a mummy to be or a baby teether. I'm going to show you step by step how to crochet around a bead and also how to stain your beads naturally and naturally seal them with coconut oil. To make your crochet bead, you're going to need a wooden bead of your choice. So I'm using a 20mm pine bead here and some crochet thread. And today I'm using Coats crochet thread number 5. The secret to start with is to start with a long tail. So I'm going to leave about 10 centimeter tail before I start my foundation chain. So there's my tail. Okay. Now I'm going to do a 3 chain to start with for my foundation. Please forgive me if this is out of focus. It is quite difficult to do this with such fine thread. Okay, let me get that really in focus for you. Okay, so here we are, 3, and now I'm going to slip stitch into my first chain. Pull that through, and you will have a tiny little circle in the middle. So from here is where we're going to start our first row. In the center of the circle, you're going to chain and single crochet 6. Now it doesn't matter if you go over the tail on this first row. So I'm going to single crochet 6. 1, 2. This is really fiddly, the first row. Number 3, 4, 5, and finally 6. Okay, so there is my first row. Now we are not going to slip stitch into each row. We're going to continue in a spiral. For row 2, you're going to do a single crochet increase in each stitch. So that's 2 single crochets in each stitch. So here's my first. Get 2 stitches in there. 2 in the first one. And the second. And continue this round until you have 12 stitches. I'm at the end of row 2, and as you can see it's starting to look more like a spiral than a circle. For row 3, we're going to do a single crochet increase followed by single crochet. So my next stitch, I'll do a single crochet increase. Once, twice, followed by a single crochet. And I'll continue that round until I've repeated this 6 times. So single crochet increase, followed by a single crochet. Once you come to the end of that round, you will have 18 stitches in total. Here I am at the end of row 3, and now my diameter across is about 2 centimeters. So I know that's going to cover my bead perfectly around. Now for the next 5 rows, I'm going to do a single crochet in every stitch. So that's going to be 5 rows of 18 single crochets. Here I've reached the end of row 6, and now to make it easier, what I like to do is now flip my crochet around, so it's like a little hat. And now I can crochet row 7 and 8 much easier, and I'll continue to do my 2 more rows of 18 single crochets. Here we are at the end of row 8. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to remove my crochet hook and find the long tail that we started with. And now I'm going to thread this through my bead. I always like to use needle to help me. And I'll just thread that straight through. And when I pull my bead through, if it will stay, I know my bead is going to stay central now because I've got an anchor. So as I'm closing it, as I'm closing the crochet at the top, my bead isn't going to move around. So when I come to thread it later on, it will always be central. Okay, let's get on to our last 2 rows now. So I'm going to attach my hook once more. Make sure I've got enough thread, and let's get back in focus. For row 9, we're going to start doing our decreases. So to start off, I will do a single crochet, then a decrease. So the easiest way I find to work with the bead is to insert your hook into your hole, but downwards, not across, not up, go down, and it will work on the curve and it won't pinch any other stitches. So I'm working down, and I'll collect my yarn. So this is my first stitch, which is a single crochet. Now the next one's going to be a decrease. To not have a gap within our 2 stitches, I'm only going to work into the back loop. So ignore your front loop, and you're going to go into the back loop and go downwards with your hook, collect your yarn. So I've got 2 loops on my hook, and I'm going to go into the next stitch and go down again, only in the back stitch, the back loop, collect again, and then close my stitches. And now my decrease is not so noticeable as if I picked up 2 stitches together, which would leave a very big gap. Okay, our next stitch is going to be a single crochet, so down into the bead, followed by a single crochet decrease. So I'll show you that once more. So we're going to work into the back loop only, pick up your yarn, back loop again of the next one, pick up your yarn, 3 loops on the hook, and then pull it all the way through those 3, and there's our decrease. And continue this pattern round, so we need to do it 4 more times. Single crochet, decrease, 4 more times, and I'll meet you for the final row. Okay, here I am at row 9. Now as I was doing row 8, my bead started to move around, so to ensure it was in the middle, I just pulled on my string and repositioned the bead. Now our final row, we're going to close our bead, which will include 6 single crochet decreases. So I'm going to go into the back loop only, pick up my yarn, back loop again, collect the yarn, 3 loops, and all the way through. And I'm going to continue this all the way around. I'll do one more with you now, back loop, and back loop again. Okay, I'll meet you in a second. Okay guys, I've finished my 6 single crochet decrease. Don't worry if you feel like your decreases have made it go slightly high and you've got a bit too much fabric around your bead. Once you finish this off, you're going to pull it down to relax it a little bit. So you'd rather have a little bit too much yarn than the crochet around the bead being very stretched. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to cut our yarn. Find my scissors. So that's cut. Okay, so I'm just going to relax that a bit. So just pulling it down. I find it looks better if you've got an extra row than one row too less. And now what you're going to do, we're going to deal with this one in a second. We're going to close off our crochet yarn we've been using. Okay, my yarn is threaded on my needle, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to weave in my ends gently around my closure of my bead, and then I'm going to do a little knot here. It doesn't matter exactly where you put your knots, to be honest, you're not going to see it. So do a double knot, and then I like to weave in my ends all the way down to the other side of the bead. And now I'll cut that yarn. Now it's been pulled nice and tight. So that's the top done. And now I will tie in the original tail. So it's important we have that tail to start with because it really helps keep in the center of the bead as we work round and crochet towards the final stitches. So I'm going to thread it all the way through, straight down to its bottom, and I just weave in the ends again, in and out a few stitches, make a little knot, and then pull it through once more, and I'll cut that thread. Okay, so here's our finished bead. So I know the hole is right there because that's where we started, and here's our hole at the top, and that's your finished bead. Easy. Now just before I go, I'm going to show you what I did with my beads. So I just bought a cheap set of beads from Amazon, just the standard multi-pack you can get there of the pine beads. So I'm going to show you the difference. So here is a bead that was unfinished. Here is a bead that I've coated with coconut oil. And finally, they're not rolling around, here is a darker bead that I've created, which you may have seen in my photos. And all I did with this, I made some really strong coffee, filtered coffee. I soaked it overnight for 24 hours, or 12 to 24 hours, let it dry out for 2 days in the sun, and then I added a coat of coconut oil. And I found the easiest way to coat the beads was simply get your coconut oil. So this is one, just a standard natural coconut oil that I've used here in Brazil. I put a tiny bit on the center of my palm, and I just rolled and rolled the beads in my hands. Let me show you again. I just did a rolling motion with my hands for about 1 minute. It also felt like a little massage for me, but it also means they're baby safe. Obviously not the ones with coffee. Don't give that for a baby teether, but they're baby safe, and it gives a much more nice finish polish than the standard pine bead from a packet. And then once I'd finished, I put all my beads on. I simply made a few crochet beads, and I made some of these necklaces, which you may have seen on my Instagram and my blog. Now again, if you want any more advice on the instructions, there is a full written photo tutorial on my blog. There also is links to my crochet patterns that I write, so you're very welcome to go and have a look. And if you'd like to buy any, I'd be very, very happy. And again, thank you for your time, for coming over here to watch my program. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Any questions or feedback is always, always welcome, and I do respond to every single email, every question that you send me. So until next month, have a lovely night or day or wherever you are. Bye.